ESPN article about um, the new rule change that they're trying to implement when it comes to starting pitching. It's called "Could Six-Inning Minimum Starting Pitcher Rule Come to the MLB?" I'm going to link the URL to this article in the description down below, but let's check out some of the stuff that I found interesting, and then we're going to go over some stats as to why this is a necessary change. So the primary goal of this rule change would be to immediately restore the prestige of the starting pitcher. Fans would be able to tune into a game knowing that he would be on the mound for a majority of it. The objective is to prioritize starting pitching, not to leave a struggling pitcher in to reach the innings threshold while his ERA skyrockets or at the risk of injury. So the league's conversations have included carve-outs, instances when pitchers would not have to pitch the required 6 innings. Some instances when a starter would be allowed to leave early might include he throws 100 pitches, he gives up 4 more runs, he gets injured, with a required injured list stint to avoid manipulation, which is very important. That means if you can't fake injury, if you get injured, you have to go on the injured list. Outside of those exceptions, pitchers would have a mandate to make it through at least 6 innings. That would force teams to rethink their pitching staff to meet the new standards. In the same way that the pitch clock was tested through the minors before being brought up to the majors, a 6 inning requirement for starters would take years of advance notice before arriving in MLB. The process for teams would also need to begin at lower levels and finding out which pitchers have what it takes to succeed in the new role of a starter and by pushing young pitchers harder before they arrive in the majors. I find that last part kind of interesting because essentially what they're saying is this: pitchers are going to have to learn to pitch again. No longer are they going to be able to rely on velocity and spin rate on the ball. They're going to have to learn to pitch to contact, and they're going to have to trust their infielders. And your team is going to have to be built around players that know how to play defense. You're not going to be able to hide bad defense anymore. You're going to have good defense because you're going to have to put the ball in play. No longer are you going to have pitchers pitching 8 to 10 pitches just to strike one guy out. You're going to want to pitch probably like 3 to 4 pitches to one batter and have him ground out or pop out. That's going to be your main objective going forward. Proponents of a 6 inning mandate hope the biggest impact would take place behind the scenes. The belief is that pitchers would have to stop relying so heavily on max velocity. What did I just say? And would set up their training around navigating longer starts rather than overpowering stuff. And in theory, starters pacing themselves to pitch deeper into games could help curtail the alarming rate of major arm injuries suffered by pitchers and also give hitters a better chance at the plate. 2 important takeaways. It will hopefully curtail the injuries suffered by pitchers. How many rookies have you seen come up of late? And this is their first year, they come up, maybe they're like 3, 4 starts into their rookie year, and now they need Tommy John surgery. They have to shut it down for the year. It's getting ridiculous. Tommy John surgery is starting to become a rite of passage, and there has to be a way to stop this. And I think the way pitchers are being taught to pitch now, from the time they're in Little League all the way into high school, college, and in the majors, is what's messing up their elbows and shortening their careers, and it's getting ridiculous. I'm a Mets fan, and I watched Jacob deGrom pitch for us. He's an amazing pitcher, but every year he was injured. And I just think, man, if he would have been taught how to pitch correctly, he would have been a surefire Hall of Famer. I mean, he probably still make the Hall of Fame. I don't know, but every year he was injured. He was unreliable, and that was just so bad because I would have loved to see him retire as a Met, but because of his unreliability, we had to let him go. And the second part is it gives hitters a better chance at the plate. Now, because pitchers are going to have to pitch to contact, batters are going to have more chance at hitting the ball. So batters that are prone to strikeouts are now going to see the ball more in the strike zone and going to be able to put the bat on it. And maybe more home runs, maybe more RBIs, slugging percentages start going up. It's going to make the game a little bit more interesting. So we'll see how it goes from there. Some execs mentioned specific smaller changes that would be interested in exploring before something so drastic. Hazen pointed to a 5-batter minimum for relievers that could organically force managers to leave starters in the game longer, as well as give more recovery time to relievers who might pitch longer in each game but not as often. I don't like this rule or this idea because relievers are already pitching three batters. All you're doing is adding 2 more batters, and relief pitchers, a lot of them come up and down from AAA back to the majors, sent down, bring up a new reliever, and that reliever just sits there until they're actually needed for like games that are blowouts, and then they get sent down when they're overused. So to me, that doesn't help really make pitchers pitch more. If a league did go forward with an inning minimum, one possibility would be pairing it with an incentive for teams. Would habits change if the teams are given an extra draft pick if their starting staff totaled 900 innings or more, while requiring starters to go 6 innings each time out? I hate this idea. I hate it so much because you're just incentivizing them to do their jobs. And I don't think they should get an extra draft pick. If you're going to give an extra draft pick, give it for them doing something amazing, like complete games. If you reach a certain amount of complete games, you get extra draft picks. Then yeah, I would go for that, but not for 900 innings, no. So now let's look at the stats as to why we need this rule change. Okay, so why does baseball feel like it needs to make these changes? Well, here it goes. Hardly any pitchers make it to 200 innings anymore. Innings pitched by starters may fall below an average of 5 innings per start. The days of dominant starters feels long gone. I don't feel like any pitcher out there uh, commands the respect that someone like Randy Johnson or Roger Clemens or Doc Gooden or anybody from back from the 80s or 90s or early 2000s, like a young Justin Verlander would respect that is around nowadays. Strategy equals quick calls to the bullpen. Managers are pulling their pitchers just because they're going to face the lineup for the 3rd time. To me, that's BS. So let's check out some other stuff. Innings pitched per year, 1950 to 1979, 6.5 innings per start. 1980 to 1999, 6.1 innings per start. 2000 2019, 5.8 innings per start. 2020 to 2023, 5 innings per start. You can see we're getting close to being below 5 innings, almost into 4 innings. 2024, 5.1 innings per start. In the minor leagues, 4.3 innings per start in the AAA level. Some say this is because we went from a 4-man rotation to a 5-man rotation. I call BS on that. I think it's more because we went to a using the bullpen more type of game, shortening the game, basically. Letting your pitcher only pitch 4 to 5 innings, then going straight to the bullpen. In 2016, David Price was the last pitcher to pitch 230 innings in a season. In 2011, Justin Verlander was the last pitcher to throw 250 innings in a season. And now these are 200-inning pitchers per season. Now look, from 1985 all the way down to 2010, 2014, they hovered around 200 pitchers reaching that mark. And then you get to 2015 to 2019, and you're down to 85 pitchers. And then 2021 to 2023, 16. Now you had the COVID season in between there, but still those are pathetic numbers in those last 3 years. That's just horrible. It's a laughing stock. Some options. Allow a team only 3 pitches for the first 9 innings, which makes sense because if it goes into extra innings, you're going to need some more help. Double hook penalty for starters that don't pitch 6 innings. Essentially, if your pitcher doesn't make it six innings, the DH also has to leave the game, and now your pitchers have to bat up. I think that, above anything, is going to help pitchers go at least 6 innings because managers are not going to want to take out the DH. Limit teams to designate 6 relief pitchers per roster, and no position players are allowed to pitch. I am so sick of seeing this. If your team's getting their butt whooped, that's on you. Do not put a third baseman in there throwing softball pitches up there. This is not softball, it's Major League Baseball. So what's the immediate impact? This is from Mike Haven from Diamondbacks' GM. He said, you would have to push command over stuff. Pushing contact would be the biggest thing to prepare guys to throw 6 innings on a consistent basis. There would have to be some pullback on velocity, though that's a tough thing because that's where you get outs. I agree with some things he says there, but the whole part about velocity is where you get outs. I completely disagree. You get outs by throwing the ball at the right spots. And I would say go study the tapes of the Atlanta Braves of the 90s. None of them were like major strikeout artists. Yes, they got their strikeouts, but a lot of them were pitching to contact and getting ground balls, and they were going deep into games. And a lot of them were saving their relievers. They rarely got shellacked in games. You rarely saw that. They pitched to contact, they got their outs. So I don't agree with that whole velocity thing. I think what was it, Greg Maddux was the one that only threw up to like 89 miles per hour. So you don't need a lot of velocity. You just need location. So we'll see how it turns out. I believe this type of rule change would be great. So there you go. Those are the proposed rule changes for the pitchers to try to get them over 6 innings uh, per start. Let me know what you think. Drop comments down below if you liked the video. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you know when I drop new videos. Until then, peace.